You're preaching, who cares? Hello, I'm Malcolm Cox and welcome to Tuesday Teaching Tips episode 117. Thanks for joining me today as we talk about this topic of we're preaching and teaching, but do people really care? More importantly, do you really care? Do you really care about the message you've been given? Do you really care about the main point you've been given? If we don't care about it, how can we expect anybody else to care about it? Now, this is on my mind because I've been reading a book called Communicating for a Change by Andy Stanley. I thoroughly recommend it, really enjoying it, not quite finished it, but I wanted to give you this quote from part way through the book, page 88, in fact. Andy Stanley says this: "Every single person who sits politely and listens to you on Sunday is one decision away from moral, financial, and marital ruin." Now that may sound strong, but if you've been involved in church life and in pastoral work for very long, you'll know that we are very fragile creatures, not only the members of our congregation, but we ourselves, of course. We're all alike fragile. And we are all only one decision away. And we believe in the power of God, don't we? We believe in the power of the Word to help people make better decisions. Decisions of faith instead of giving in to fears and doubts and disappointments. And this has the power, but only if we bring it with the expectation that that power can be used by God. Does it really matter to you and I? The book puts it far better than I can, so I'll put the show notes in, I'll put the reference to the book in the show notes. You can find it for yourself. But what about this thought? We'll look at this a little bit today. Now on Sunday, I'm preaching from Psalm 62, both in the Watford Church of Christ and the Thames Valley Churches of Christ, morning and afternoon. I'm looking forward to it. It's a tremendous song. My soul finds rest in God, or rest in silence, some translations say, or is silent. My soul is silent with God or before God. My salvation comes from Him, my rock, my salvation, my fortress. I will never be shaken. Or as it says in verse 2 in the Hebrew, I will never be much shaken. I won't be shaken very much. And he begins there, does David, and then as he goes through the psalm, he repeats it. And when he comes back to it in verse 6 and he says, I will not be shaken, he's got more conviction. Okay, at the beginning of the psalm, I won't be shaken very much, but by the time I get to verse 5, because I'd reflected on this and spent time silently with God, now I have the confidence, I will not be shaken. And isn't this a message we need? There's so much noise in our world. I need more peace. I need more contentment. I need more connection with God to give me the strength I need, because I have people assaulting me, as he says in verse 3. I have my enemies. I have those who are against me. And of course, Satan and his demons, you could say, are against me. And I have my own troubles because I have my own weaknesses, a tottering wall we can be or feel like at times. And I need Him. I need the confidence that power belongs to God, verse 11. And with Him, Lord, is unfailing love, verse 12. Yes, I need that reassurance from these pages. It's got to be in my heart before I can convey it convincingly, meaningfully, to the people to whom I'm going to be speaking on Sunday. So this is so important. What do we do? How do we get that sense of healthy burden on our own hearts, that this becomes somewhere embedded in here, such we then bring it to people with a real authenticity and power? Well, here are some thoughts, and then I'd like to know what yours are. Now, three main things. Number one, pray over it. Pray over the topic, pray over the point, pray certainly as I am over the text in Psalm 62, but also pray about the point. Pray about this need for silence before God, because that's what one of the translations, several of the translations, rather than saying in the NIV, find rest in God, talk about being silent with God, silent before God. That silence is needed for us to be refreshed. And so praying about that need, I need that silence. I need that silence so I can hear God, so I can let Him speak to my soul. So I'm not just creating all the noise and not being able to hear Him. Pray over it. And I did that this morning as I came back through the park. In fact, I've been doing it a bit the last few days because I know I've been preparing this lesson. I'm going to be preaching on it. So I've been putting more silence into my life. And really that's the second point. So pray over it, but secondly, apply it to your own life. Before we can ask other people to apply it to their lives, we do well to apply it to our own. So I spent some time this morning walking through the park, and I usually pray out loud most of the time, but today I spent a larger chunk than usual of time in silence. Not passive silence and not a distracted silence, but I hoped it would be, and I tried for it to be, a connected silence with God. And the way I did that was to repeat phrases from the psalm in my mind as I walked along. So I prayed about about being silent before God. I prayed about him being my rock and my salvation. I prayed about him being my fortress. And I've had those themes in my mind as I was walking through, but I was being silent more than I usually am. And I found that actually very refreshing and encouraging. But I need to apply it to myself. So the first thing is to pray about the point. The second is to apply it to your own life. And the third is this: bring to mind the people that you know you will be speaking to. People in Watford for me, or people in Thames Valley. Bring those people to mind. Some of the married people, the single people, the older Christians, the younger Christians, some of the teenagers. Perhaps some people have been long-term visiting your church. Bring them to mind and imagine how, if they adopted this, the difference it could make to their lives. You're getting a vision, in other words. And two parts to that vision really. One is what happens to their lives if they don't apply this, and then what happens to their lives if they do apply it. So you've got the possibility of warning and fearful expectation if they don't apply it, but you've also got the sense of vision and hope and growth if they do apply it. Imagine those people. Think about how important this could be to them in their marriage, to them in their parenting, to them at their workplace, to them in their spiritual development, to them in growing in their faith, to them being effective for God and fruitful and all the good things that God has in mind for them. Imagine it. So 3 steps, 3 tips I would offer. Firstly, pray over the topic. Secondly, apply it to yourself. And thirdly, imagine the impact this could have on the people to whom you're speaking. Imagine them by name, by face, individually, not just as an homogeneous, faceless group, but as individual people. And I think we find that these messages that we are given to speak will embed themselves into our hearts so that we'll be able to convey them with conviction to the people that God gives us to speak to. So what do you think about this? Does your message really matter? Does it really matter to you? I would love to say that in all my years of preaching and teaching, every lesson has really mattered to me. But to be honest, some have more than others. I always try to have this in my heart, but I do succeed sometimes more than others because I'm aware of the significance of it more sometimes than others. I feel the need to apply this more to myself than ever before. It needs to matter to me what I want to speak about to the people God has given me on any particular date. So what do you think about this? What will help you with this? What does help you with this? I'm reminded someone asked somebody for a definition of preaching, and they gave this pithy reply. Preaching is 30 minutes to raise the dead in. And I like that, the simplicity of it. It matters. It's about resurrection. It's about a transformed faith and life. That's what it's about. And if we carry that in our heart through a specific message, then surely God will have the impact he wants through his word as we bring it to people. So there's some thoughts. What are your thoughts? Do you have any ways that you do this that helps you to put it on your heart, to convey this conviction? What helps you to make sure that the message really matters to you? I would love to know. So please leave a comment in the comment box below this video, because then we can learn from each other, and we learn best when we learn in community. Pass the link to this recording on to one other person if you can think of someone who might benefit from it. And do leave comments, and do hit the like button, and do hit the subscribe button. You'll be notified when new recordings go up online. And then let me know. Let me know what's helping you with your teaching and preaching at the moment, and also any questions you have that you'd like to see me address on teaching and preaching. Well, thanks again for being with me today. And until the next time, I hope you have a terrific Tuesday and a wonderful week. Take care, and God bless.